Hello, everybody. All right, so welcome to the Mikestand, where we give people a chance to come in. While we're doing that, I'll put some music on, take care of a couple of things, and then when I come back, we'll go over what's on top for tonight and get right into it. So, without any further ado, here the All right, one more little thing, and we'll get into this. Anyway, I need to check one more thing, and then we'll get going here. Alrighty then, there we go. Alright, so alright, so tonight, of course, Thursday night, one more day before we actually get into of course the historical comic retrospect tomorrow night. But tonight, we're going to be going over the Indie Comic Showcase, the article from, of course, Chris Braisley on Bleeding Fool, plus, of course, the wrestling wrap up and and the wrestling wrap up and the wrestling wrap up, as well as this day in each history at the end. So, anyways, um, with all that being said, why don't we go ahead and all right. So, without any all right. Anyways, I am a little slow getting started here. Anyways, all right. So let's get focused now, Mike. Focus, focus, focus. Anyways, so let's get into our main article of the night. Of course, as we're 7 minutes into this now. Which, as I said, we're gonna go over the indie comic showcase here from Chris Braley. The Indie Comic Showcase number 230, Super Killer, Little Sally, and Oi Tales of Bardic Fury. Article by Chris Braley, published yesterday. So last night, basically. All right, so welcome back to another installment of Indie Comic Showcase, the weekly blog, where we signal boost a few truly independent comics that are currently crowdfunding their projects, crowdsourcing their funding in some way, or just completely self publishing on their own. Every little bit of support for these creators matters, from a single dollar pledge to the $25 bundle. And of course, the higher tiers are usually fun too. Even if you can't back a campaign or buy a book, you can share or tweet about these projects to your friends and followers. On Indie Comic Showcase, we interview the creators, show off some art, and tell you how you can check out the product for yourself. Below, we have some outstanding crowdfunding campaigns this week for you to learn about, enjoy, and hopefully support by backing one or more of them. Thanks for checking these out and for being the best part of Indie Comics Showcase. Let's jump in. Super Killer by Vito uh, Gesualdi. Super Killer, huh? All right, what a heroic murderer, basically. That's what he's writing about here. Well, let's find out. Welcome to Indie Comic Showcase, Vito. Hit me with your pitch for Super Killer. Vito Gesualdi. Um, With reality on the brink of collapse, one man must assassinate the multiverse's greatest heroes to set things right. But after he's forced to take on a useless human woman as his sidekick, the art of superhero murder suddenly becomes a lot more complicated. 52 pages of blood soaked superhero comedy. Okay, interesting. Chris, tell me what led to you self-publishing Superkiller? How did you come up with this concept? Vito, I've had the idea kicking around for 15 plus years or so. Um, the idea of universes being forced to fight for their survival comes from the Japanese manga Bokurano, um, which is way too depressing and no one should read it. Yeah, people are gonna want to read it if you used it as your. People are more likely gonna want to read it if you used it as your basis for your comic. But then again, you also have like Dragon Ball Z had an ultimate universal survival arc in it too. So or Dragon Ball Super. Um, I'd always wanted to do a superhero twist on that premise. And only now do I finally have the audience and capital to make it happen. Chris, that's a great feeling. So, who is the story aimed at? Let's see if anybody is here yet. Nope, I'm still the only one here would appear. Damn it. Did it to myself again, of course. Hmm. All right. Anyways, back to Vito here. This book is a dark comedy, taking a lot of cues from how Japanese manga expertly swaps between moments of fun and hilarity of moments of great action and drama. I think a lot of the humor has been sucked out of American comic industry as people in this country are too afraid of offending anyone. If you like to laugh and are comfortable with some Rick and Morty style humor, you'll have fun with this one. Chris, tell us about your approach to comic creativity. Vito, I have some limited art skills, so all the characters were designed by myself. I also provide all the thumbnails for pages that are then fleshed out by the actual artist, Keter LeBeau. I come from a Hollywood script writing background, so it's been interesting to adapt that writing style to to a comic format. Envisioning how many panels I can fit on a page and what those panels need to show to communicate the action effectively has been a challenge. Chris, how did you assemble your creative team for this project? Vito, I connected with series artist Keter LeBeau through a Facebook group for comic artists. I had to dig through years of archived posts to find the right guy for the job, but he's perfect. His art is exactly what I need: cartoony, but not too silly, serious, but not too realistic. Um, Perfect look for this book. as it can convey both the humorous scenes but also important character drama. Anyways, let's see. Oh, what's your production workflow like? Um, Vito, Chris asked, "What's your production flow work like?" Vito, I work up the thumbnails and hand them to Keeter, um, who does the sketches and then the inks. I have an editor of sorts assisting me at every step of the process. A seasoned comic pro, um, who is helping me make sure the panel and action are are as good as they can be. We are about halfway done with the book and making good time. Chris, what have you been learning from crowdfunding um, through this process? Um, Vito, too much to list, honestly. I'll say this. I've been surprised at how many people don't take their campaign seriously. The campaign has been a huge labor for me, and it's crazy when I see pages with spelling and grammar errors or limited information on the project. How do you expect to get backers if you aren't giving your customers 100% perfection? Wow. Chris, good point. Back to the comic itself. Um, are there more stories to tell in this universe? Um, Vito, my current plan is to deliver a really solid 4 issue arc. That being said, I really hope this thing has legs. There's a lot of places this book could go, and I'm hoping we can build an audience, um, and really play around in this universe we've created. And my dream would be to find a way to animate it someday. Maybe as AI progresses, that dream could become a reality. Chris, any special features about your campaign you'd like to mention? Vito, we have a very special cover drawn by Toshio Maeda, the Japanese godfather of, in smaller quotes, tentacle porn. Okay. I think I have an idea of what that is. Um, I've seen a few anime in which um, they have depicted certain situations where you have these creatures that have tentacles capture girls and they like wrap themselves up and like you see the tentacle going around the leg and up the leg and not necessarily going into anything that should be shown on on regular TV, mind you, but you get the idea. Getting him to commit to a cover was a challenge, especially with the language barrier. But readers now get to see our heroine in the clutches of a slimy interdimensional fiend. As a longtime fan of anime, getting this legend to contribute was a thrill. I guess there's cover C right here. See, stuff like this is what we're talking about here. Very lewd, to say the least. Anything else you would like to share with our readers before we sign off? Vito, yes, please check out the campaign page at superkiller.org to learn more about the story and characters. We've got a super fun world we've created, and it can be hard to express all the nuance in a short description. but anyone who has dug into the preview material and learned what the story is really about has been absolutely thrilled about it. Chris, congrats on the successful campaign veto. So there we go with that one, Super Killer. Now we're going to get to Little Sally by Joshua Estes. See what Chris and Joshua had to say there. And of course, if you of course haven't already, if you guys can like and share the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people in here, that'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. That being said, let's continue on with the article here. Little Sally by Joshua Estes. Okay, if that's Little Sally right there, that's going to be a very interesting story. Chris Braley, welcome back to Indie Comic Showcase, Joshua. Share your elevator pitch for Little Sally. Joshua Estes. Little Sally is about a little girl that is murdered and is then brought back to life by two entities known as the Balance. Not only is she brought back from the grave, but her two favorite stuffed animals are given life as well. Now armed with supernatural powers, Sally, Ted, and Uni, Ted might be a teddy bear, I'm thinking. Uni, maybe a unicorn, maybe, are given the task to take down those that harm children. Time for bloody fun, time walking the gray line between light and darkness. Wow. That's a very interesting premise. What's the origin for this comic, Joshua? Chris asked. Joshua, I started work on Little Sally about 20 years ago as a silly little story for my college comic book club. At the time, I didn't think much of it, but as the years went by, I thought about her story every now and then. Fast forward a few years more, and I am back in college, and I end up using her for a couple of projects. At this time, people started getting interested in her story and suggested that I start a comic book. Fast forward a few more years, and I put her first story down on paper and started to post it anywhere I could to see if people were interested. With over 10,000 views on Global Comics and being on their quote most popular 2021 horror unquote list, I figured it was time to put together a campaign. Bang. And with one bullet, another bright light had been snuffed. All the joy, the happiness, and the colors of life were taken away. Taken away by some a hole, but she wasn't the first or the last. Chris, what kind of comic readers is this aimed at? Joshua. People have compared Little Sally to stories like The Crow and Spawn, which so happens to be some of my biggest influencers. Okay. And I've actually seen the Crow movies, all of them, and the TV series Stairway to Heaven. All very good. All very good. The story itself is dark not only due to its graphic nature, but also its subject matter. So if you're into a good revenge story, then Little Sally is a story for you. Yeah, and I would depict that if that's the case, it's probably more geared towards adults and maybe older teen readers, maybe at the youngest 16, maybe even 15, possibly, but obviously not something for little kids. How did you develop this story? Joshua, and he writes Chris type developed, but I think it's develop, actually. Joshua, since the story is about a little girl and her stuffed animals going on a revenge quest, I thought that a more cartoony style would fit better than a more traditional comic book style. As stated before, she represents the gray line between light and dark. And therefore, the color palette represents that. Everything is black and white with gray tones, and only a splash of red and green. Since everything has to deal with opposites, red and green are opposites on the color wheel. Chris asked, "Do you have a certain team, or do you have a creative team on this project, or is this all you, Joshua?" Joshua responds, "I am the one-man army behind Little Sally. I do everything from art, the writing, creating the trailers, writing the music, and promotion. Since I am the only one involved in Little Sally, it does take some time creating an issue. Um, Everything that is available um, in the campaign is ready for print, so there won't be any excuses of not finishing the book when it comes to the campaign rewards. It takes a lot of time and patience, especially if you're working alone. I would love to do this full time, but I got bills to pay." Meaning he's got to take time out to go work, obviously, is what he's basically saying. Anything you'd like to tell our readers about this campaign? Chris asked. Joshua, this campaign is for the first 5 issues in the Little Sally series. I plan to have a total of 20 issues before I am done with the story, so there is plenty of more. Okay, I think he switched those words. I think it should say, so there is plenty more of, as opposed to plenty of more, Little Sally coming in the future. Other than the individual books, there will be a TPB, which I guess means trade paperback, called Little Sally Bloody Beginnings. It is a collection of the first 5 issues of Little Sally. Included in the trade paperback will be some bonus art of old concepts, one of the first comics I did back in college, and full page art of the collector cards that will be available in some of the reward tiers. All of the physical copies of the books will come in regular covers or foil for those of you that like shiny things. For those of you that like reading comics on the go, while there will be digital bundles as well. If you are a retailer, there is also a retailer tier for 10 copies of Bloody Beginnings that will save you $50. Good deal. Anything else? Anything else? Last words before we um. Anything else? Last words before we sign off. Joshua, Little Sally has just begun with only 5 stories down. There will be 15 more to come. Issue 6 should be out in a few months and will be over 40 pages of Little Sally mayhem. Wow, so there you go. All right, so continuing on with the article then here. We're already at the 30-minute mark. Oi, Tales of Bardic Fury. Article by Daniel De Sosa. Or by Daniel De Sosa. Chris Braley. Welcome back to Indie Comic Showcase, Daniel. We introduce our readers to Ori, Tales of Bardic Fury. What's the elevator pitch? Daniel De Sosa. A psychedelic epic fantasy story about a bard in training named Brian who gets sent to a village in 360 AD, Ireland, that never heard music before. There, he forms a band with local villagers, including the druid's Selkie daughter and the Roman town slave. Using the power of music, they battle a cult of evil druids who practice human sacrifice and are working to control music and culture. If you love music and epic fantasy, this is the comic for you. All right, very bardic, like a bard. Bards were in medieval times. They were the ones who would travel around with the little guitar thing, stringed instruments. You know, entertaining minstrels would also be involved in that. Chris, where did the idea for this comic come from, and made you decide to self-publish it? Daniel, I wanted to make a comic that focuses on bards and gives them the showcase and focus they deserve. Bards were historians, storytellers, and entertainers. In real life, they were the rock stars and idols of their day. Wow. I have had bad experience working with indie publishers in the past, and them not paying at time, not at all. I think you meant on time. And crowdfunding avoids that. Self-publishing also allows me to tell stories that are completely true to my vision and free of editorial censorship or interference. What kind of comic readers is this suited for, and who is it aimed at? Daniel, it's a seinen comic aimed at everyone, young adult and older. It is a good read for anyone who enjoys fantasy, history, and mythology. So I guess Daniel has got some manga influence in here. You're calling it a seinen comic. All right, continuing on here. Chris, explain to me your style and creative approach to comics. Daniel, I draw and ink every page traditionally, then add the shading and letters digitally. So he's doing a mix of traditional and digital artwork here. I never had a tablet or learned to draw on one, so I've kept up the traditional art over the years. This has led to me having a ton of original art pages, which coincidentally are available as a reward in the Kickstarter campaign. I do the art and writing and also design the book to prepare it for print. Um, I have experience working in pre-press and as a production artist, um, and enjoy um, having complete artistic control of the final book. I just finished illustrating the final epilogue pages, so volume 3 is 100% complete. Oi, volume 3 is 297 pages of black and white bardic fury. If you get volumes 1 and 2, which are also available as part of the campaign. That is 700 plus total pages of comic that tell the complete story of Oi, Tales of Bardic Fury Part 1. Volume 3 doesn't end on a cliffhanger and provides a good ending for those who have read the comic since Volume 1. Chris, with multiple volumes under your belt, tell our readers what have you been learning from self-publishing through this process. Daniel, marketing is the most difficult part. The main thing I have learned while drawing this comic is the importance of storytelling. Chris, I think a lot of creators don't realize that. What are your plans beyond this volume? Daniel, I have more stories for the Bards of Oi. Um, the next art will send them on a Mediterranean tour to Greece. But yeah, a bard telling of Greek lore, Greek mythology. That would be interesting. Any special features in this book? Daniel, Volume 3 is 297 pages of comics and does not end on a cliffhanger. It has a high amount of content, especially for an indie book. I offer all 3 Oi volumes as rewards in the campaign and am also selling original page art, original cover art. Sounds good, Daniel. Good luck. Daniel, thank you for supporting Indie Comics. That's it for this installment. If you're a creator ramping up your own campaign or have a comic available to purchase online and you want to be featured in our weekly column, click here and follow Indie Comics Showcase on Twitter at Indie Comics and reach out to them for more eyes on your crowdfunding comic project. Until next time, support Indie Comics. Oh, there we go with that one. All right. So, as I said, we only had the one article go over tonight. I do need to step away for a moment. I'm going to put some music on. I'll be right back. All right, so now we're going to head into the wrestling wrap up here. So just a few little notes. Let's see. So I'm going to take care of this, of course. So let's see. WWE front. Don't know of anything yet going on. Let's see. We do know that we're inside of a month till SummerSlam. They continue to work stories. Apparently, The Rock and Grayson Waller got into it in a little online dispute there, where Grayson was criticizing The Rock's early attire from his time in the WWE when he first came in as Rocky Maivia, only for The Rock to remind him that it was apparently Triple H's idea, the same guy who's the chief creative officer right now, who's actually booking Grayson Waller right now. So, let's see. Also, in some old WCW news, of course. So recently, if you guys remember the wrestler Lodi from back in the mid to late '90s, Lodi was of course originally a member of Raven's flock. There, the guy would always be running around with putting those odd signs out there. Well, after a wrestling event recently, he admitted in an interview that he had a heart attack. He suffered a heart attack, and apparently he was driving at the time. He's apparently fine. But this happened, I think, back in May, I believe, was when it happened. So he's been recovering. But he did recently suffer a heart attack. On the AEW side of things, so last night Dynamite saw, of course, Daniel Garcia and Sammy Guevara of the Jericho Appreciation Society and Adam Cole and MJF, as they call themselves, better than you, baby. Those two teams advanced to the finals of the Blind Eliminator Tag Team Tournament, with the winner, of course, getting a title shot at the AEW World Tag Team titles. Also, Ruby Soho advanced for the second year in a row. Ruby Soho advanced to the finals of the Owen Hart. Will this be the year that she wins it? Well, we'll have to wait and see. As of course, the other semifinal match will be happening on tomorrow night's Rampage. That pits Ring of Honor World Women's Champion Athena versus Willow Nightingale. The men for the Saturday being CM Punk taking on Absolute Ricky Starks. So, and the both finals in the Owen Hart tournament, Foundation tournament, will be happening on this Saturday's edition of Collision, as we mentioned. And right after Collision, they'll be having their Battle of the Belts event. The one other match that's been signed for that is Luchasaurus defending the TNT title against Shawn Spears. Also making his debut in AEW, Nick Wayne, the third generation star, the son of Buddy Wayne and the grandson of Moondog Moretti, who of course a star up in Canada. Nick Wayne lost in his debut to Swerve Strickland. And to open up the show, Chris Jericho defeated Commanders. He seems to be conflicted. So it does seem like there are a lot of things moving along here, a lot of storylines being moved along here. We'll just have to wait and see. Impact Wrestling, of course. This Saturday is Slammiversary. Signed, of course, the main event has Alex Shelley defending the Impact World Championship against Nick Aldis, the National Treasure. Deonna Purrazzo defending the Knockouts championship against Trinity, who recently made her debut. Let's see. We also know Chris Sabin will be defending the Impact. Yeah, actually, before we even get into that, let's see what's going down on Impact tonight. As on tonight's Impact, of course, Zachary went. Well, let's see. Kenny King and Sheldon Jean will be teaming up to take on Joe Hendry and Yuya Uemura in the final Impact before Slammiversary here. On the countdown show to Slammiversary, Joe Hendry will be defending the Digital Media Championship against Kenny King. You have Rich Swann and Sami Callihan taking on Moose and Brian Myers in a tag team match. You also have Chris Bay of the ABC of the World Tag Team Champions taking on Zachary Wentz of Zachary Wentz. And the reason we talked about those two matches because three of those teams, Ace and Bay, Swan, Callahan and Swan, and Moose and Myers will be involved in a four-way title match for the Impact World Tag Team titles at Slammiversary. Deonna Purrazzo will be defending the Impact Knockouts World title against Jody Threat tonight. And Mike Bailey will be taking on Kevin Knight, as the two of them will also be involved in a Ultimate X match that also has Jonathan Gresham and Angels involved as well at Slammiversary. And also, so there has been some changes, of course, made to one of the other events. Initially, it was going to be PCO and Scott D'Amore teaming up to take on Bully Ray and Steve Macklin. I think, as far as I know, as soon as I find it here, PCO has been taken out of the match for some reason. As everybody saw a couple weeks ago, he was burned. So now Scott D'Amore will have a mystery partner. Diener will be filling in for Steve. I don't know yet why Steve Macklin was taken out of the match, mind you. You'll have, as I said, in the Ultimate X match, Jonathan Gresham, Kushida, Mike Bailey, Kevin Knight, and Angels all involved. Chris Sabin defending the X Division title against Leo Rush. The Coven of Kylan King and Taylor Wilde defending Impact Knockouts World Tag Team titles against Killer Kelly and Masha Slamovich. And then Frankie Kazarian and Eddie Edwards continue their feud with the returning Tracy Brooks to stand in the corner of her husband, Frankie Kazarian, to hopefully counter the interference of Alicia. So with that, and then even on BTI tonight, they also are going to have Dirty Dango taking on Heath. Heath, who made an impact last week by knocking out Dango with a wake up call. So with that, now we're going to start to wrap things up a bit here. As now we're going to go ahead and go through this day in Niche history. Today is Thursday, July the 13th, 2023. So why don't we go ahead and take a look back at this day in Niche history. History! Anyways, it is 05, 08, 98, and 2018. All right. So, anyways, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. First off, we're going to head back 25 years ago today, as on this date, back in 1998, 25 years ago today, Schwartz and Company's Moses, Egypt's Great Prince, premiered, it was released direct to video um, on this date back in 1998. Let's see. Moses, Egypt's Great Prince is a 1998 direct-to-video animated musical made by UAV Entertainment. Of course, tells the story of the biblical hero Moses. Let's see. So, and how he freed his people from their lives of slavery. As usual, this film is a mockbuster. This time of the DreamWorks animation film The Prince of Egypt, also adapting the Book of Exodus. So, and among the voice talents listed here include Greg Abbey, who's New York based. You might know him better as Frank Frankson. Of course, did the voice of the English voice for Tristan Taylor in Tristan Taylor in Yu-Gi-Oh! Earl Hammond. Now that's a surprising name. I thought that guy passed away. Earl Hammond also. Oh, he did pass away. I'm sorry. I'm forgetting this was from back in 1998. So Earl Hammond, probably known best, as the voice of Mum-Ra from Thundercats. So, anyways, I forgot. This is actually from back in 1998 that we're talking about here, rather than today. So, anyways, getting ready to move on to the next piece of niche history here. As we move ahead to 2005, on this date in 2005, which was 18 years ago today, the 20th issue of Walking Dead from Image Comics went on sale on this date back in 2005. The story, part 2 of the Heart's Desire story, written by Robert Kirkman, with art by Charles Adland, and Russ Wooton doing the lettering. So on this date, 18 years ago today, the 20th issue of Walking Dead went on sale on newsstands for Image Comics. So moving ahead to 2008 now, which was, of course, 15 years ago today. On this date, 15 years ago today, TNA held its Victory Road pay-per-view. From the let's see, where did they hold? Oh, from the Reliant Arena in Houston, Texas. In the main event, Samoa Joe battle Booker T to a no contest for the TNA World Heavyweight title. In a Full Metal Mayhem match, Team 3D and Kurt Angle defeated Rhino, Christian Cage, and AJ Styles. You saw in the final round of the World X Cup tournament, Volador Jr. defeated Kaz, Naruki Doi, and Davari. I believe that was Sean Davari, not to be confused with the Ari Davari. Sean Davari was, of course, Ari's older brother. Taylor Wilde retained the TNA Women's Knockouts Championship over Awesome Kong. In a Fans Revenge Lumberjack match for the TNA World Tag Team title, the Latin American Exchange retained over Beer Money. So let's see. Sanjay Dutt defeated Jay Lethal in a with SoCal Val in his corner. Gail Kim defeated Angelina Lev. Team TNA of Curryman, Alex Shelley, and Chris Sabin defeated Team International of Alex Kozlov, Tyson Dukes, and Doug Williams. Team Japan of Milano Collection AT, Masato Yoshino, and Puma. And Team Mexico, Ultimo Guerrero, Rey Bucanero, and Averno in a 4-team triple elimination third round. Well, okay. So with that, let's see. We have one more piece in each history to get to, which came from 5 years ago today. 5 years ago today, OLM released the distributed by Toho the Pokemon the movie The Power of Us was released in Japanese theaters on this date 5 years ago today, 2018. So Pokemon the movie The Power of Us premiered on this date 5 years ago today. I thank everybody for being here tonight. Don't forget, we'll be back here tomorrow night for the historical comic retrospect. Metal from Vomitorium will be my co-host. We'll be looking at books that were that went on sale in November 1939 from what would eventually become Harvey Comics. We'll be looking at Speed Comics Volume 4. Shock Gibson from Speed Comics Volume 1 Issue 4, and the Champ from Champion Comics Volume 1 Issue 3 from Worth Carnahan, Brook World. So I hope to see everybody tomorrow. See everybody tomorrow. Bye.